Good morning. Welcome back to the Red Mic. Thanks for being here. Happy Tuesday. Let's get into it. Today's Red Mic message 15 years. That's all most of us get. Let me explain. You know, I'm a big song and movie buff, but my wife will tell you my musical taste almost exclusively stopped around 1999. One exception is the song 100 Years by Five for Fighting. It came out in 2004. And of course, I'm a big Bruno Mars guy, but that's for another time. The song 100 Years starts off, I'm 15 for a moment. When you're 15, the world and your life feels endless. 100 years stretches out in front of you. There's going to be time later. There's time for the trip, the dream, the phone call, for the people who matter. At 15, we think life is measured by how much time we have left. The older I get, though, the more I think life is measured by how much time we actually control. Because if you do the math, the number gets really small. You're going to spend 27 years asleep in an 80-year life, about 11 years working, 6 years eating and preparing your meals, 5 years commuting or sitting in traffic, 4 years running errands, paying bills, handling life's administrative falderall, 3 years in school when you melt it all down, 3 years doing household chores, personal care, 3 years as an infant or toddler, almost a year sick in bed, and a year sitting on the toilet. More than that if you take your phone. Um, Add it all up, and that's more than 60 years spoken for. Suddenly 80 years doesn't feel like 80 anymore. It's more like 15. 15 years. That's about all most of us really get, where we get to decide what we're going to do, how we're going to spend that time. And that's where the problem starts. The problem isn't that you don't have enough time. The problem is that we spend our 15 years as if we have 80. We put off the important conversations. We postpone the family trip. We delay the phone call. We assume there's going to be another season, another summer, another opportunity. Sometimes there is. Sometimes there isn't. When I coached football, kids and parents would ask if a game mattered. Well, the answer, oddly enough, is always yes and no. The score probably wouldn't matter 10 years later, but the lessons almost certainly would. The touchdown would be forgotten, but the confidence gained by a nervous kid who finally believed in themselves wouldn't. The win would disappear into the record books, but the character built during that season might last a lifetime. The game, therefore, mattered, just not for the reasons that people thought. Ernest Becker, he's a philosopher, he called this the immortality test. There's a simple question. Will what I'm doing right now matter when I'm gone? Not next week, not next month, not next year, when I'm gone. And most things, let's be honest, fail that test. The argument on social media, the latest gadget, the status symbol, the endless scrolling, the promotion you sacrificed your family time to get. The things that consume so much of our attention often leave nothing behind. But teaching a child, mentoring an employee, serving your community, keeping your word, building a strong marriage. Those things pass the test because the things that matter most aren't the things we keep, they're the things we leave behind. There's a cartoon I saw a few years back. This dad is standing in front of the garage and it's filled to the brim, and his son standing next to him, and he says, "Son, someday all of this will be yours." Now, the older I get, the funnier that cartoon becomes, because after helping clean out both of my parents' homes and my dad's storage unit, I understood the joke. Most of what we spend our lives accumulating eventually becomes somebody else's problem. And I think the only thing my son Daniel actually wants is my piano bar. I converted an antique piano that we owned into a bar because none of us played, and it was going to take thousands and thousands of dollars to restore it back into a piano that would then just sit there and be furniture, basically. But I love my bar, and Daniel, I think, does too. So it's got his name on it. People rarely remember our possessions, though. They remember the moments attached to them, and they're going to remember the way that we made them feel related to those things. The people who choose to be part of your life, your spouse, your children, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers. That's not guaranteed, it's a gift. They choose every day to spend part of their own 15 years with you. And that's a privilege we should appreciate more than we often do. My wife and I are going to go to vacation next month with my best man, Joe, and his bride, Jill. I say bride, they've been married 25 years. And I am more than ready for this trip. Not because of where we're going, although we're going to Broken Bow. It's going to be great. I'm just looking forward to the time, because the time that you spend with people you care about, it's more important than the destination. And a few uninterrupted days with good friends, it's a luxury. And it's easy to assume there will always be another trip, another dinner, another phone call. But that kind of thinking wastes precious time in that small 15-year window. Because when we get to the end, nobody wishes they had more stuff. They wish they had spent more time with the people who mattered. That same song, half time goes by, suddenly you're wise. That's not just clever songwriting, it's a warning. Life doesn't feel short because the clock moves faster. Life feels short because one day you realize how little of it was ever really yours to begin with. Pablo Picasso said the purpose of life is to find your gift, but the meaning of life is to give it away. Today was my friend Scooter's birthday. He would have been 56 today. Scooter. Yeah, you see that right there. Most of you heard me tell the story about the bottle of bourbon I gave to them, but it certainly fits today's message. I gave him a bottle of bourbon, nothing fancy, $50, $60 bottle, but I wanted to share it with him, with him and his friends and family. But he said, you know what, we're going to save it for a special occasion, thinking there would always be more time. The problem is he kept waiting for the special occasion. And then one day he was gone and there weren't going to be any more moments to share. After he died, his sister gave me the bottle. It was still unopened, so I took it to his gravesite. I poured the first shot on the ground, raised the second in a toast to Scooter. And then my wife said that Scooter was probably screaming down from beyond, saying, "You're wasting good bourbon." And she's probably right. He probably was. But now that bottle still sits on my bar right over there. But it's not empty. It's not unused, though, either. I share it from time to time. And every time I share a shot, I'm reminded that we spend a lot of our times waiting for the special occasion, the perfect time. Waiting till work slows down, the kids are older, until we have more money, waiting till retirement, waiting until life settles down. The problem is life never really settles down. None of us knows how much of our 15 years are left. That bottle matters because Scooter mattered. The bourbon isn't what survived, the memories, the friendship. He's been gone for years and I'm still telling stories about him, laughing at things that he said, that he did, still missing him. That's the immortality test. Not whether people remember what you owned, but whether they remember you. And I think that's the answer to the whole message. When my time comes, I don't want Daniel to remember me because of what I left him. I want him to remember me because of the time we spent together, the conversations, the lessons, the sweat we earned on football and baseball fields together, the laughter, the mistakes, the stories. The same way I remember Scooter. Scooter passed that test. Joe passes that test. My bride passes that test. One day your job will belong to somebody else. So will your title, your office, most of your possessions. The world keeps moving. What remains are the lives that you touched, the lessons you taught, the example you set, the people who are better off because you were here. That's the part that survives, and that's the part worth spending your 15 years on. So go do it in a way that people are going to remember you long after you're gone. And that's today's Red Mike message. A little longer today. Sorry about that. Happy birthday, Scooter. Joe, Jill, looking forward to that vacation. We'll see you soon. I love you guys. Please give me a like, a follow, and a share. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And until next time, don't forget, as always, life is short. Drink the bourbon.